what is the goal of hospice. So hospice, you have to have medical eligibility to say that this patient, they're functionally declining. Like grandma has dementia and it's getting really bad and she's falling a lot and she broke a hip and last year she broke some ribs and now she's getting some UTIs and her memory is getting worse. She's not making a lot of sense anymore and now she's not even able to verbalize her needs. Now she's become bed bound and now she's chair bound and she can't prepare her own meals. So activities of daily living is one of the biggest indicators that someone is declining and perhaps they do meet medical eligibility criteria by Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. Another way someone can become eligible for hospice is by their primary diagnosis. You'll have to have a primary diagnosis that states this patient has less than 6 months to live if their disease continues its normal trajectory. Okay? For an example, a patient who goes to an oncologist and they might have tried all kinds of different treatments and by now this cancer is now metastasized regardless of all the treatments that they have tried. They may be 2 years in and now the patient's a doctor. They're sitting and having a real conversation, which is super important to have with your doctor. Where am I in my disease trajectory? Are these modalities where it's making me feel horrible, is it gonna really give me quality of life or not? For example, if you have a patient with pancreatic cancer that has metastasized, by Centers for Medicare and Medicaid hospice eligibility criteria, they meet hospice criteria. Now, it doesn't mean that absolutely in 6 months they're gonna die. They may live longer than 6 months. In fact, CMS has shown that when patients go on hospice, they live an average of 3 months longer than they would otherwise, especially if they are enrolled and admitted to hospice early on in their disease process. Now, if someone waits and you're really pushing it to the very end, yeah, the person can be admitted to hospice for just 2 days and they pass away. And that's okay too. But 2 days of that federal benefit where you have an entire medical team taking care of you, not only the patient, but also the family members, is very different for 6 months versus 2 days. So, and also the amount of money that's utilized from that federal funding, 2 days versus 6 months is very different. So if somebody in the family is is declining, has all these different diagnoses, it could be heart failure, it could be heart disease, it could be stroke and they can no longer get out of bed and they're getting wounds, and all of those, when you put together, the patient meets criteria for hospice and this federal benefit that would pay for all their care. It's pretty amazing.